done a presenter notes here. Good morning. Ooh, that's loud. So, thank you for the introduction. As I said, nothing worse than a bad kisser, so it's a family show, so we're saying keep it sweet and simple. We're going to talk about another four-letter word today, which is my name, Tady. It's pronounced Tady, and it's spelled T-A-D-Y. It's an old Limerick name, and it's not GDPR. So, when we think about social media, the phrase itself, social and media, the social is the need for interaction and comparison with people that we want to know, that we do know, that we don't know. And there's a very important point in that, which is the need element. It answers our base instincts that we need reaction. When we talk to other people, that we get reaction from them, and we know that they've heard us, and we like them, and they like us, and we move on. Media is the jam, or the bit that we consume. So it's important to understand that when we put these two together, we're talking about a very different substance than what we are when we're talking about them individually. There's a few rules that kind of exist. These are based on optimal kind of studies of what works within certain contexts. And as marketers, it's really important that you kind of understand that there's an optimal amount of content that you can put out in regards to trying to target specific areas of your social output. I'm sorry, I don't have my presenter notes here, so I'm winging this, okay? So my apologies to this. We have the 28 characters per subject line on an email, 6 characters on a hashtag, 8 characters on that should be a URL, my apologies, 71 to 100 characters on a tweet, and an optimal 40 words on a Facebook post. So the point here is that we have this tendency to overdo what we put out within the context of our social media posts, whereas there are some studies that have shown that the optimal amounts are actually an awful lot less than what we might assume. The 28 to 39 characters in a subject line as well in email is an interesting one, because if you think about the way when you look at your email in Gmail or on Outlook, what have you, how much of that you see is a subject line that says, you won't believe the offer that we have, ... So just to consider the length of your subject in that context. We also have this notion that social media, specifically in regards to Twitter, that we have 140 characters to play with. And we kind of forget the fact that they upped that last year to 280. So you ask somebody how long is your tweet, they will say 140 characters, even though in the back of their mind they actually know it's 280. But what that means is that we're trying to condense our message, and we're trying to make it shorter than it needs to be. So we've all seen a tweet that looks like this, with this after it, and if you think this is a joke, you should look up David Attenborough's birthday, because just 2 days ago there was a 75 tweet thread that was numbered like this. So this is not made up. Okay, this one is particularly made up, but anyway. And then, so we see this, and this person is somebody we follow and we like, and we know what they're going to say. We're kind of tuned into their message, and we think, okay, we're going to give this a go, and we're going to read it. But then we don't know this person, but a friend of ours does, and they like what they've said, and they do this. And the problem there is that we have no context for the original tweet. We know that the person, Miss Piggy, that we like, has threaded this and has said, okay, this is something I think you should read. But are we really going to go through 42 tweets to get to that point? Now, if we go back to 140 characters per tweet in old money or 280 in new money, we're looking at 2,800 characters, and according to Medium, the optimal blog post length for about a 7-minute read is 1,600 words, or about 8,000 characters. So the point here is that 2,800 characters is well on its way to being a small blog post. If you think about it in the context of a Twitter sphere, it has a longevity, whereas a blog post, something that you own on your own website, that lives in your own, on your own URL, is going to have much more of a lifespan. In talking about that, the average lifespan of various social media posts, and again, these are averages, so these are not precise. Obviously, if something goes viral, it's going to last an awful lot longer. But you're looking at about 18 minutes for a tweet, about 5 hours for a Facebook post, 21 hours for an Instagram post, 24 hours for a LinkedIn post, 20-ish days for a YouTube video. But the most important one is that a blog post can live up to 2 years. Now, not a lot of people are really conscious of the fact that 18 minutes is how long a tweet is. So you put out a tweet, you think, that's it, I've tweeted, I've said what I have to say, the world now knows what I have to say. As long as they've seen it within the 18 minutes after you click send. Whereas, if you had a blog post, you've got much more longevity on where that content is going to live. You also have the added advantage of that when it's on your own website, that your content lives within your own website. It's not on a third-party platform. It's not out there and somebody else is getting the benefit of your content on their system. It's coming back to you. You have the potential for cross-site traffic. So, somebody comes and sees your post on your own website, and you've also got related posts beside it. These are ways that you can cross-reference your content. It's more portable in the sense that you own the URL that you're putting out there. You can use URL shorteners, that kind of thing. And that means that you can very easily resend that data at a later point to a further platform, retweet it. Sometimes you try and retweet the same thing and it says you've already posted this tweet. You can change the context of what you're trying to say, and you can more easily show get the feedback on your analytics of where people have come to your post and where they've seen it. SEO is obviously very advantageous as well in the context of your content, that you're going to see much better return on your SEO if the content is coming directly to your own website. And then repeat business, again, kind of saying the same thing, that you can reuse the URL and repost it on various different contexts, they say. We have this post on our Arekibo website, which is to restore a MySQL database from a backed up program file. And it's from September 2011. And we spent about 3 months retweeting it, putting on posts on Facebook, sending it out there, putting it on social media, and then we stopped. And then it got picked up by various different Reddit and Hacker News and that kind of stuff. And for some reason, around the end of September, or end of 2017, the analytics started to climb on it. And it's now the highest viewed post on our website. We haven't done any marketing on that. We haven't pushed it out on any social media platforms. We haven't done anything with it since we first published it back in 2011. But because obviously something has happened with MySQL and there's interest, it's lifted again, and from the end of 2017 into this year, it's just blown up. So this is an example of our previous tweet. So rather than having a thread, we have our own shortened URL, and he's saying, I have something very important to say about this administration, not alluding to any particular administration. But this can then be reused the next day, the next week, the next month, and up to the next year. So by having a URL that goes back to our own content, we can change the context in which we want to present it and give it new life and new customer audience by reusing it again and again. We can also use it on different platforms, so it's not just limited to Twitter. We can have it on Facebook. There are lots of tools out there, like Hootsuite and stuff like that allow you to push your content to all the different platforms at the one time. They are very, very useful, but there's nothing really beats having your own URL where you can come back to it, where your audience can come back to it, because there's a couple things they can do. They can bookmark it, they can share it, they can send it much easier. And as well, I don't know about you, but I've often gone to Twitter looking for, there was something somebody said last week about something, where the hell was that? And you just can't find it. So that goes back to our 18-minute lifespan on the tweet. We need to really beware as well of the echo chamber. And this is something that I don't know that it really affects business as much as it does personal, but I think it's something you should be aware of. And when you think about social media and you think about the context of the sphere within which you're tweeting or posting Facebook or what have you, that realistically, the people you're talking to are people that follow you anyway. So they already like you. They already like what you have to say. And they already agree with you. So you put out and you say, I think this, and they all come back and say, we think that too. And you all think everything's super. And then Donald Trump gets elected, and Brexit happens. And everybody is living in two different bubbles, thinking that everything's fine. So my point here would be that I think it's very important that we engage with people who disagree with us. So one of the things I found personally very beneficial of social media is I can go to somebody like a telephone, an internet provider, and say, what the hell is wrong with your service in my area? And instantly somebody come back and say, really sorry, what's the problem, how can we fix it? I can give out reams and yards about that company, but at the end of the day, as long as they're engaging with me and giving me an answer on a platform like Twitter, like Facebook, like what have you, then at least I feel like I'm getting my problem solved. This is a feed that exists on the Wall Street Journal website, and I chose Trump because, to be honest with you, some of the others are actually quite disturbing to look at. But basically, it's the two different sides of the argument. It's how the liberal and the conservative side of Twitter present themselves. And when you see them side by side, it's actually quite upsetting, because you think that everything's going well. You think, okay, I believe that we will live in a democratic, free society. And then you see what the gun-toting other side think, and it gets a bit freaky. And believe me, there are as many people that think differently to us as those who think the same. So I think it's very important that we're very conscious of who is saying something either contrary to us, different to us, and it shouldn't be afraid to engage with that type of response. Content is king. This is an adage that we know and we live by, but I would also add that context is king. So the point here is that we need to be careful about, I say we, but I think it's just humanity. We need to be careful about the way we present the information that we're trying to put out there. So our content is it's very specific to us. It's very about us. It's very what we want to say. But where we put it is very important, because we can just blindly put out advertising and not pay attention to where it's going to appear and end up being associated with our lovely holiday in Greece, being related to the riots in relation to the economic situation. So these are things that we need to be careful. And just in case there's any doubt, it doesn't just happen online. So win a dream holiday above a ship that's crashed. So yeah, put you off swimming. So I have an awful lot of information on clickbait that I can't see. But clickbait, one of the things that's very, very surprising about clickbait is that clickbait really, 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 really works. It is absolutely brilliant. It's a nightmare to look at it, because you can see it a mile away. You say, that is clickbait. It doesn't stop you wanting to click on it. It doesn't stop you thinking, I really do want to know what celebrities have died last year. So there's a number of reasons as to why this works. And I recommend, I'm sorry, I don't have the data here. I recommend looking at the video on this link here, which I'll share later. Anybody wants to ask me, I'll share it. Basically, there's a hit of dopamine that you get from seeing the link, because it's answering a question you didn't know you had. So you're looking at this list of the 10 best places you can buy a house that's not Ireland and thinking, I really want to know where I can buy a house that's not Ireland. A chateau in France, ooh, those are nice. Before you've even clicked on the link, your brain has gone, I want to know what this information is. It's also tapping into what's called a gambler's paradox, where you're going to click the link regardless, because there's a chance it's going to pay off. It might not. But when you are presented with a number of different clickbait titles, if you imagine just looking at BuzzFeed or anything like that, or any of those links come at the bottom of a post, related content, you just want to click it and you want to see what's happening. And I don't know about you, but I have lost 15 minutes going through one article to another, to another, to another, and suddenly I'm finding out what the most poisonous spider in Gibraltar is. But I'm like, how have I lost 15 minutes and how have I ended up here? So it does work, and it's worth understanding the effect that it has on people. Sean Parker said this. He's the creator of Napster and he's Justin Timberlake in The Social Network. He said that of this last week about what Facebook does. He said that that means that when we need to sort of give you a little dopamine hit every once in a while because someone liked or commented on a photo or a post, whatever, and that's going to get you to contribute to more content because it keeps you going, more likes, more comments. It's a social validation feedback loop. Now, it's also, I like to call it a reaffirmation bias, because basically we're all looking to be told that we're great. So you put something out there, you put a post out, a photograph, a comment, some video, some GIF, whatever, and we want our friends to like it because it tells us that they like us. So when we're putting our content out in that sense, we just need to be more conscious of, not more conscious, but just be conscious of who the audience is and what we're trying to give them. This type of title is a type of clickbait title, and the three things that clickbait does is it's ambiguous, ambiguous, vague, and hyperbole. So ambiguous and vague are both like what CEOs, what companies, and hyperbole is how the companies succeed. Succeed at what? Making money, crashing, we don't know, but we click the link because we want to know. Can't remember the point on that one, so we'll skip on. So in relation to this one here, I don't know about you, but I have a personal experience of somebody in a meeting telling me, we absolutely have to have a call to action link on the homepage that goes to form 34B/2.C. And I'm looking and going, but why? What's the point? Who does it serve? What user out there is looking for that? Turns out the user out there looking for that was him, because he didn't want to have to go looking for form 34B/2.C every time he went looking for it. He didn't have it saved in his computer because he wasn't always available. But the point is that we need to be very careful about the cognitive bias of where we put our information, because what we think is important to us, and especially you guys as marketers, what you think is important to you is not necessarily what's important to your customers. Just is a very, very, very dangerous word. And I think if I could ask you to do one thing when you leave this room, it's never say just again. Just put a link on the homepage. Just put a Facebook feed. Just tweet about it. Just assumes ease. It assumes that something can be done very simply and that it is a solution to all problems. But I can guarantee you that if you say, just do X, it is the easiest, laziest solution to the problem. And if you start off by saying that, then you need to go back and think about what the problem is again. There's a developer named Brad Frost who's written a post about this. And as you can see, he says, I feel like an idiot when I'm doing my job a lot, because a lot of people, as developers, and I would say this specifically from a developer perspective, but it applies to developers, designers, marketers, it's across all different spectrum. So you ask somebody, how do I do this? And the response will always be, just install 15,000 libraries and run it through this version of Windows and it'll be fine. Nobody has time to be doing that. And it also, again, just assumes that the person you're talking to knows what you're talking about. So that's me. We have a competition with Arekibo, which I've been told to tell you all about. Take a photo of our cups, post your photo to Twitter, tag Arekibo and 3XC on it. In with a competition, in with a chance to win, and we have a survey as well. Thanks.